Today I'll be teaching you how to make a hydroponic garden grow lamp. This is an example of the lamp that will hang above my garden, and you can make one of these yourself for about $50. What you will need are some nuts and bolts, sizes in the description below, wire nuts, light and electrical housing, chain, 2 light fixtures, a power cord that has ground to it. You need 2 threaded dowel rods that are about 2 foot long. You will need a piece of ductwork that you can find at Lowe's. You will need some type of measuring tape or stick, a drill, and wire cutters. What you want to do is take your ductwork and kind of flatten it out a little bit. This will be the light shade. You want to measure an inch on all 4 corners, measure an inch down and an inch in. That's where we're going to drill our holes at. We're going to use these threaded dowel rods to keep the metal open. Next, you're going to take your threaded rod and feed it through the holes you just made. I'm going to thread it through one side and then take 2 of the 1/4 inch nuts and thread them all the way down. Thread one all the way down to as far as you can to this side right here. Thread the other as well. This one can stay a little bit closer. Now that you have your 2 nuts threaded, you want to put the rod through the other hole. Didn't make the whole thing up, so I need to pair pliers to kind of do a little bit. There we go. Alright, now you're going to do the same on the other side. With your housing created now and spread apart with the dowel rods, you're going to make sure that the width of this thing is 16.5 inches. That's what I use mine. So that's a little over 16.5. So I'll adjust it. Okay, good. The light fixture is now spread out on both sides to 16.5 inches. We can begin setting up the light mount now. To set up the light mount, you want to find the exact center of your piece of metal. And so mine is 24 inches long. I marked 12 inches. And then we all know that we made this 16.5 inches wide. And so you want to find 8 1/4 inches. And mark it there. And then you just find 8 1/4 inches on this side as well. There's your halfway point. In my electrical housing, I have 6 holes that I'm going to be using. This hole will hold the wiring. This hole will mount the light. Same thing on this side. This hole will hold allow the wiring to go through. This hole will mount the light, and then these 2 small holes we will use little metal screws to tap into the piece of our ductwork and mount the light or the electrical housing. Now I'll mount the light using the metal screws. Fixture is now mounted. You will then take 2 bolts, run them through 2 of the holes, and then take a nut and run it all the way down to prevent these bolts from spinning. Next, you want to thread some 1/8 inch nuts down about 1/4 inch onto your 2 bolts. And what this is going to be is it's going to provide a place for your light fixture to rest. You don't want it setting all the way down on the piece of metal. You want it to be raised so the light bulbs have some clearance with the metal. Then you put a light fixture on, and you tighten another nut on top of it using a pair of vice grips and a wrench. You just want to cinch the nuts tight. And there you have one of your light fixtures mounted. I'm gonna pause the video, mount the other light fixture, and I will see you in a couple minutes. Once you have both your light fixtures mounted, you want to take the two wires coming from one light fixture and run it through one of your holes. 2 wires per one hole. Hole wasn't big enough. Take one wire, run it through. And a second wire, run it through. Okay, do the same with the other side. One wire and 2. See, it's big enough? Yep, looks like it's good. Flip your element over. And now we have 4 stray wires coming up the top of our light fixture. All right, now you want to take your power cord and attach it to the light. Now my power cord came pre-cut. You can see the red or the black, green, and white cables coming out of it. If you have a power cord that isn't pre-cut and still has a female end on this end, you can just take a utility knife and cut the end off, and it should have the color coordination on your wires. We're going to take a utility knife and pull out these wires a little bit more because that's not enough room for me to work. Make sure you use gloves. If you can't tell, I cut my finger last time I made the previous light, so just make sure you put on some good safety gloves and strip wire. You will now have 3 exposed wires. Okay, my light fixture has black and white wires coming out. The standard code for wiring is that the black wire is the hot wire, the white wire is the neutral wire, and the green wire is your metal casing ground. You have to make sure that you have a plug with a green wire, so that way if some of our connections get loose and the hot wire ends up touching your metal casing, you won't electrocute yourself. Okay, next thing we want to do is take one of our metal screws and drill another hole into our metal facing here. Don't drill the screw in all the way. Don't drill this screw in all the way, because what it's going to be used for is to hold our ground wire. Before we do any assembly or any wiring, take the cables and run them through our housing top, so that way once everything's connected, the housing top will be able to just sit on top right here. I want you to take your green wire here and make a loop, and then run the loop through the screw like so. And then you take your drill and you drill your wire all the way in, so that way you have your green ground wire connected to the physical metal plating. The next thing you want to do is gather all of the white wires together, kind of twist them a little bit, and then take a wire nut and just nut the wires together. Then you want to do the same with all your black wires. So wire nut and nothing together as well. Next, you want to gently pat down all of the wire nuts that you put on, and then you want to attach the top of your the light fixture housing. You are all now wired up. The only thing we need to do now is put chains to hang this thing. So we are going to hang chains off of these metal rods right here. But first we need to cut our chain length. Now what you'll want to do is take your chain and cut about 42 inches, two 42-inch lengths off your chain. So I just use a pair of cutting pliers. Now we take one end of the chain, put it on one side of the rod. Take the other end of the chain, put it on the other side of the rod, do the same thing with the other chains. You'll now want to take 1/4-inch nuts to lock the chains in place. Just screw them all the way down to the end of the chain. Do it on all 4 corners. For your last and final step, you want to take the remainder of your 15-foot chain, make a loop around the 2 chains you just created, take a zip tie, and zip tie the loop shut. Your grow light fixture is now complete. Have fun, happy grows.